Hey, this is George. Have you ever heard of Anchor.fm? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Number one, it's free. Number two, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so you can hear it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Check out Anchor.fm on the iOS and Android systems.
Need psychotherapy online or in person? Check out tinyurl.com/THT psychotherapy. The George Brassey podcast is made possible with funding provided from Brassey Global Strategies, LLC, a leading political consulting, public policy, government affairs, and research firm. Are you interested in running for elected office? Need advice? Call or email George, 708-769-5015. Brassey Global Strategies 1@gmail.com.
Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall. Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall, Chicago Heights, Illinois. Snow was on everybody's mind at Wednesday night's Chicago Heights City Council meeting. The Chicago area was hit by a major snowstorm, and Chicago Heights had about 10 inches of snow dumped on it Tuesday and Wednesday. City Hall was closed Wednesday afternoon because of the winter storm, and garbage pickup on Wednesday and Thursday was also postponed. And students at Chicago Heights School District 163 went to remote learning Wednesday because of the storm. The mayor's chief of staff, Karen Zaranti, thanked city workers for their efforts. She told the council that city workers had been working round the clock to keep city streets open and safe, and would continue to do so throughout the duration of the storm. Fifth Ward Alderman George Brassey also lauded city workers, saying, "The snowstorm we have experienced in recent days has been terrible, but the City of Chicago Heights Public Works Department has done an excellent job in maintaining the roads during the snowstorm. Each and every resident's request that was submitted to my office was addressed in a quick and efficient fashion." Christopher Bykoskas, 4th Ward Alderman, added that Public Works is working diligently, doing a great job cleaning up the streets. In other business, Zaranti said that the city would be hosting its second Illinois Department of Public Health clinic offering vaccinations and booster shots 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday, February 12 at City Hall. The council also approved an ordinance renewing the city's employee health insurance policy and premium. The city expects to see premiums remain roughly the same. The city's benefits and insurance consultant told the council that he was able to negotiate lower rates with its insurer, Blue Cross/Blue Shield PPO, despite higher prescription drug usage by the 231 employees covered under the policy. Snowstorm forces Chicago Heights to close City Hall.
Before we get to the interview, I just want to tell you about our newest sponsor, Union Signs and Printing. Union Signs and Printing is a union sign shop located near Chicago, Illinois, that specializes in the production of corrugated plastic lawn signs used in applications ranging from political and election usages to unions, schools, and businesses. They also produce a vast array of other products, including American-made, union-printed t-shirts, banners, bio cards, literature, door hangers, business cards, and trifold. Get a hold of Union Signs and Printing at 815-740-1688 or find them on the internet at unionsignsandprinting.com. And don't forget to tell them you heard about their services on the George Brassey podcast. The authors of the book Chicago Heights, Little Joe College, The Outfit, and the Fall of Sam Giancana, Charley Hager and David T. Miller. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
David, tell me a little bit about Charley's backstory. How did Charley end up going from West Virginia to the city of Chicago Heights as a youth?
Yeah, certainly. I spent a lot of time talking with Charley about this story. I'm originally from where he is from, or close to it, and I'll let him speak for himself about his family situation, a fairly difficult and difficult life in West Virginia. Of course, has a lot of poverty, and he had an uncle who basically plucked him out of that and took him to the big city of Chicago Heights. Right, Charley?
That's correct. Yes.
It's so to think of Chicago Heights as a big city back in this time. Charley, what was it like for you?
Well, I thought I'd walked into heaven. Believe it or not, I left starvation. I left a lot of poverty. When you don't have clothes on your back, you don't have shoes on your feet, and then you get into a place to where everyone says welcome. Everyone has a big hug. Everyone has something to eat. And there was opportunity in life, which I did not have. And, I had to go from the worst of the two evils. Do I starve to death and stay here, or do I take a gamble and go to Chicago Heights and try to make something out of my life? I knew it was going to be rough. It had already been explained to me, but I thought, what's the worst of the two evils? So I went to Chicago Heights with my uncle. And, he put me up, and then the Italian people took me in as if I was one of their kids. I owe that to the Italian people today. They did so much for me.
Charley, your uncle owned a couple bars in the book. What bars did he own?
Pardon me?
Which bars did your uncle own in the city of Chicago Heights and Blue Island that you talk about in the book?
Okay. Now, in Chicago Heights, there was actually two bars. There was Virgie's Lounge, which had been there a long time, that he worked back and forth, and then the Vagabond. And then there was one in Blue Island, Illinois, which is no longer there. That's actually where he started out, was in Blue Island, Illinois.
Tell the audience a little bit about your memories of the Vagabond Lounge.
Well, I'll walk you through it. That really was right there on the corner of Halstead Street. And, there was a lot of sort of the old Albert Hotel, it was the old Albert Hotel. And then at the back of that Vagabond Lounge, all the way to the back on the first floor, was where the club was, the Vagabond Lounge. And then there was a little restaurant in there, and then there was a bank there. At that time, there was a bank in that building. People don't realize that, but there was a bank in that building, right on the left corner of that whole building. And that used to be, I guess, some type of dealership or something at one time or another which I don't know, during life. And then we spent a lot of time upstairs on the third floor, which we had a room, which we held a lot of meetings up there, which was Joe Barrett, myself, Albert Taco, Nick DeAndre, Billy Dauber was there, and of course Bob Zazzetti. That was more or less that crew. Now there was more to that crew, but the bunch I worked with, that was just about the extent of the ones that I had the dealings with.
Tell the audience a little bit about who Albert Taco is and how he plays into your story.
Okay, again, we're like we're in a can and we're speaking in a can. Well, I'm sorry, you'll have to read.
Charley, can you talk about Albert Taco?
Oh, yeah. I can talk a lot about Albert Taco. I did a lot of jobs for Albert Taco. I started out, doing things and helping him out there, when he was a sausage maker, I helped him out a little bit there. I got to know him real good then. And then first one thing led to another, because he needed help over there in the business of taking over Jimmy Katura's business. He told Katura that he had to go. This was the end of it. You need to retire. You need to move on. Katura wouldn't listen to nobody. And finally, when Duff and Billy Dobber whacked him, there in his Cadillac, he kind of brought me in on the tail end of the thing there to throw foot for those guys. And then they just started whacking guys left and right, because Taco had them to do it. And he brought me in on the tail end of the thing. Now, I was also a chauffeur for Taco, and I was also a chauffeur for Paletto.
Talk about who Paletto is.
Paletto?
Yes.
Paletto was a very secretive man. Paletto would have you to drive him somewhere. He wouldn't say anything. He wouldn't talk. He was just a very silent man, a very peaceful man. Paletto was the guy that kept that organization together. I mean, if things stepped out of line, he sure put them back in line quick. He wasn't a hothead. He was a very clever man and a very smart man. And, of course, if there's any action, he got a piece of it. Because, he was a capo and or an underboss. And that was about the extent of that. I didn't have a lot of dealings with him. It was Taco because, there was a firewall there and things were handed down. And he was very smart. He would not let you know anything on him, or he wouldn't tell you anything to where you could put him in harm's way.
How long does the relationship with Albert Taco last for you?
How long did Albert Taco and I spend together or last together?
Yes.
Well, if we had to get into it right down to the nitty gritty, I would say about 4 years. And that's when I was moved into the racetrack in Crete, Illinois. And, I raced harness racing, trotters, and my job was more or less getting that money out of that racetrack. And I did a real good job of getting that money out of that racetrack. And I brought a lot of money out of that racetrack.
Charley, tell the audience a little bit about your interest in racing and the horse track. How did that come to be?
Well, that come about. Actually, it come about. I had a brother-in-law that was, Kenny James was a horse racer there. And Kenny had the inside scoop. And I went to Taco and I told him, I said, I think this would be a good thing for us. And I think that I have an inside thing here to where that I can make us some money. And he said, Charley, this is awful dangerous. This is a dangerous way to do it. Because we got no way of taking care of business in case something happens, because we can't go whacking these guys. And I said, well, I've got something better. I said, I've got a brother-in-law that's racing here. He's been in this business 20-some plus years, and he knows all these drivers. And if he tells me that a horse is going to win tomorrow, or Or as we say, it'll snow. If I tell you it'll snow tomorrow, it'll snow tomorrow. And the big bets that nobody wanted to take, I took them to the racetrack. The small bets we kept. Now, if we had a real good bet, then we had somebody, not us, but somebody go make that bet and bring that money to us. And I know that there was one year there, I think it was 72 or 73, that we probably brought $700,000 out of that racetrack just within a 7 or 8 month period. And for a kid coming from West Virginia that had nothing and gets into that kind of money, he's pretty well on his way. And this way, and not only this gave me a lot of trust with Taco. Taco could trust me. He could send me out to do things, and he could, like I said, if I told him it would snow tomorrow, it would snow tomorrow.
David, who is Sam Giancana, and how did it relate to Charley's story?
Sam was a very well-known American mobster. He was the boss of the Chicago outfit from the late 50s through, and Charley can correct me, I think 66 or thereabouts. He had been a long-time figure in that area, but he was also one of those larger-than-life characters. He buddied up with Sinatra. He was involved with the CIA, and just a larger-than-life character. He also played a role in Charley's story, simply because of the way things went down, and it's something that really other people haven't talked much about. And Charley is the one, bringing his own personal side of the Sam Giancana story to light, right, Charley?
That is correct. Of course, Sam Giancana was Tony Big Tuna Accardo's underboss. So that he was Chicago. Big Tuna was, Accardo was the man, and Giancana was the underboss. Of course, he ran it for Chicago, for Accardo for a lot of years, And then Accardo had to let him go because of all the problems that he was bringing that they couldn't let happen. And they actually exiled Giancana into Mexico.
And how does his path intersect with you, Charley?
Well, it goes back again to Robert Zazzetti. Zazzetti was a well-known hitman for the Chicago Heights crew, him and Billy Dauber. And there was a guy by the name of Roland Vance that Bob had got the pistol from, with the silencer, from Roland Vance that actually killed Sam Giancana. And Roland Vance and Dick Spry, one of the guys that was with Zazzetti the night that he whacked Giancana. Now, people will argue this, and they will argue this and argue that, and this one did it, that one did it, that. No, Zazzetti got Giancana. Zazzetti is the man that whacked Giancana. There's no two ifs, ands, and buts about it. He did the killing. Now, Dick Spry was with him that night, and Dick Spry sold him the gun because Dick Spry got the gun from Roland Vance. An argument pursued over the gun because Bob wouldn't pay him the $1,500 for the gun. Dick Spry was in West Virginia. Albert Taco told me to go down there and settle it. Well, when we went down there to settle it, Bob had no intentions of settling it. He had intentions of whacking. So I'm in the car, and Bob whacks Dick. he whacks Dick. So, we got busted on the beef. I got pinched on it, rather, and I ended up doing the time for the crime. Duff got out of it, and Duff later died of cancer.
And you end up doing time in West Virginia.
And I never did go back. When I went back and I talked to these guys, and we had a sit down and we talked, and because I hadn't rolled over on anyone, I hadn't pointed a finger at anyone, I hadn't got anyone in trouble, and they were all in a lot of trouble. There was a lot of killings at that time. I was told by Albert Taco himself, Charlie, if you want to go back to West Virginia and stay in the shadows for a while, you go. I've got no problem with you. So actually, prison life saved me.
David, what do you think current residents could learn from Charlie's story?
Well, it's certainly, Charlie's story is kind of an everyman story. You read a lot of books that are written by people who might be better known, who had longer, careers there. The names might be more familiar. Charlie's story is a very human and very personal story, unique in that it's from the foot soldiers, the regular guy point of view. And I think that it's very easy for people to be, not to have great choices and to be attracted down the wrong path, or not have a good path in front of them. So I think it's a story that anyone would enjoy reading, even though some of the details are grim. But it's basically a story about Charlie or someone like him not having great chances, but he's lived to tell the tale. So I think anyone would benefit from the local history, but also from the very personal side of his story.
David, and I keep in mind too, David, and let me jump ahead here. I was not a Kaya. I could not be a made man, but I could be an associate, and I was a very valuable associate. I'm a kid that was brought up as a foot soldier, run the streets, through the ranks, that was taught well. And that's the kind of people they were looking for. Now, you would never look at me and say that, this guy's in the mob or is in the outfit, because I didn't look the type. That's how I got away with a lot of stuff. I just simply did not look the type. You can't take Ted Bundy. You can't take Ted Bundy and say he's Natalia. If you follow what I mean, you can't do that. And this is how that I flew under the radar so long without being noticed.
David, can you tell the audience about how you each came together?
Yes, I've always been a writer and editor. I was helping my father with a book that he had done in a signing, and he was signing books over in West Virginia, which I think, Charlie, you were still living in West Virginia at the time. This is probably 8 or 9 years ago, and Charlie struck up a conversation with my father and passed on the information. We worked on the book for a long time, revising it and doing a lot of research to make sure we had, all the facts down as best we could, and putting a lot of pieces together that weren't possible, back in that era, that now we can do online research. So basically, it was just Charlie making a very making a connection with someone that could speak that same West Virginia experience.
Yeah. The book was well vetted, and I'll get off one thing too is Annabelle, which was the girlfriend, Blaze Starr, which was the girlfriend of Huey Long, the governor of Louisiana, came there a lot, and she was the one that had maybe a little inspiration too. She was Blaze Starr. She was the queen of porn, and Blaze was raised up right beside me there. And Huey Long come there a lot, the governor of Louisiana, because that was his girlfriend, right there in that little town. And, just seemed like politicians, gangsters, thugs, was just the way of life. It was just the way of life.
Well, I think that's a good place to close. David and Charlie, thanks for coming on the podcast.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Help George stay on the Chicago Heights City Council. Go and donate today at tinyurl.com/AldermanGeorge 2023. Need more George? Like his pages on Facebook. Friends of George Brassey PAC, Fifth Ward Business Alliance, Chicago Heights Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center, and the George Brassey Podcast.